Hello everybody, it's your boy Zach back to attack yet another shiggity show, and today we're going to be going over episode 3 of Obi-Wan Kenobi. First of all, did you guys know that this thing switched to Wednesdays? Because that's a thing. Well, I mean, I guess like the episodes ended up getting delayed more and more, so they ended up putting episodes 1 and 2 out on Friday, and originally intending for Wednesday slot, like Book of Boba Fett, I guess. But sheesh, put that into your promotion, like. Put Friday is when Obi-Wan starts, resumes the following Wednesday or something. I don't know. I didn't really know about that until like kind of last minute. So rude. We opened the episode up on the freighter ship that Obi-Wan and Leia ended up stowing away on, and we see Obi-Wan in deep meditation trying to contact Qui-Gon, his former master. He's all like, "Master Qui-Gon, are you there? Please, I need your help." And and then like while he's going through this, like he hears like Reva's voice, like replaying what she told him like last episode at the end of Anakin being Darth Vader. And that Anakin Skywalker lives. And I guess Kenobi really didn't think he lived after the whole lava incident. It's fair. A lot of people are thinking that he should have known, but it's believable enough. Just let it go. And suddenly there's a flash of all sorts of different voices playing over in Obi-Wan's head. From Yoda saying, "Only pain will you find." Like whenever he stumbles upon the recording of Anakin in the Jedi Temple and all that. And then it goes to Qui-Gon, where he asks Obi-Wan to train the boy, train Anakin. Then it cuts to Anakin with, "If you're not with me, then you're my enemy." And then we see like the suit being put on Vader, and then we hear Anakin's voice again. "I do not fear the lies of the Jedi as you do." And it was so cool how this scene was cut together, man. Like I'm quite impressed with how scenes are played out, especially like with the scenes that pertain to like callbacks to the prequels. I think they're handled very well, and honestly, freaking kudos to those in charge of that. There are some aspects of the show I'm not all there with yet, but where it is with the cinematography and the cutting together of certain scenes and like the callbacks to the prequels and such, like I said, you guys are doing pretty rad, I must admit. During all this constructed scene with with Obi-Wan meditating, all the voices going on, and seeing the suit going on to Hayden Christensen, which that is him. You can definitely tell that that's him in the makeup of Darth Vader. And then you see like the suit being put on Vader. We hear Reva just kind of singing Obi-Wan. It's kind of creepy, honestly. The scene kind of comes off a little creepy, but I mean like in a good way. Like it's cool. It's kind of cool. I really like what they're doing with the scene. Like I can't stress that enough. I feel like I have stressed that enough, but I'm gonna go ahead and stress it some more. Okay. We see Vader come out of the bacta tank. We see the whole suit go on. We see the final piece go down onto the helmet. It's really cool. I got chills. Like I was like, it's Vader, it's Hayden Christensen, it's Vader. Oh my god! I was just like. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan he senses Vader, and he calls out to Qui-Gon once more, saying, "Master Qui-Gon, give me strength." He's coming, Master. Stuff like that. I think that's almost exactly what he says. before seeing the scene, I thought that Obi-Wan, I had like a good idea that he probably never had spoken to Qui-Gon. But after seeing the scene, I can like 99.9% say he's never had a word with Qui-Gon over the last decade, which sucks. And obviously he's still reaching out, so he hasn't given up. Like, he's still trying to make contact with Qui-Gon because Yoda said he could. And I mean, why would Yoda lie to him like that? Well, I mean, you know, Jedis don't lie. You know, things are just told from a certain point of view. Isn't that right, Obi-Wan? Anyways, so I guess so. This entire time he still hasn't made contact with Qui-Gon, and that kind of sucks. But it's definitely going to happen. It's just a matter of when. So that'll be interesting to see when exactly that's going to take place. I think Qui-Gon is going to be maybe not exactly what pulls him out of his funk, but he is really going to be what kind of helps train him back up into the Obi-Wan that we used to know. And this also means that, you know, since they haven't had that interaction, whenever we do get to it, we are finally going to see on screen their first interaction ever since Qui-Gon's death in The Phantom Menace, which is really cool. Like that's something that we knew that they were going to do between episodes 3 and 4, but we didn't actually see. And it was just kind of suggested in Revenge of the Sith from Yoda. But we actually are going to be able to see that. And honestly, it's going to be a big letdown if like they just keep building this up and then Liam Neeson isn't even in this thing. Like, he doesn't even make contact with Obi-Wan whatsoever. But honestly, it's totally their fault if because they totally are misleading us if that were to never happen in this 6-episode miniseries. So it's got to happen, and we're going to be able to see that reunion, which will be really cool. And I'm really interested to see what that interaction is like, what they say, what words are exchanged, you know, their feelings that they have at that moment, and like just that whole conversation. I'm really intrigued to see what we get. So, you know, I'm looking forward to that. Moving onwards, Vader has finally been suited up, as Barney Stinson would say. And he ends up moving on out and going out into his throne room, and we see like the outside of where he's located, and he's on the planet Mustafar, which is, you know, the place where he ended up losing his battle with Obi-Wan and ended up like losing his last good arm and then his legs, and, you know, getting burnt alive and whatnot. And, you know, that's the place, and that's where he built his castle, which is known as Vader's Fortress or Vader's Castle, whatever, whichever floats your boat. And that's his main headquarters, his lair, so to speak. And as far as I know, this place hasn't been put into any live action like thing whatsoever. It's only been in comics. And I believe they said that Vader was in his fortress or whatever in a scene or a couple scenes in Rogue One, but I don't think we actually saw the fortress. I don't know. I really dislike Rogue One, so like I've seen that like the least amount of times out of probably all the Star Wars films. So I couldn't be the best recollector in that regard, but. Definitely, I'm pretty sure that this is the first time we actually see it in live action, so that's pretty dope. And honestly, what better headquarters is there than the place that gives you so much hate and rage and anger, like, you know, like Mustafar for Anakin or Vader. Sorry, my bad. Identity crisis moment there, or maybe you're having the identity crisis there. Honestly, it is kind of weird how he just refers to himself as a whole new person, like just. You can be an evil Anakin. You can be Anakin Skywalker now turned evil. You don't have to just be a whole different person. It's just I don't know. It's always been a bit weird looking at it like that. I mean, like, it's cool kind of, but like it's also a bit weird. Anyway, this truly is the best spot for Vader's fortress, like, without a doubt. He is like filled with the power of the Sith there, because that the Sith, like they harness on that shit. Like the Sith really get their power through anger, hate, and rage and all of that. And so being there and reminded constantly of his failure and his big defeat and why he has to wear that freaking death trap that he's all suited up in, and that thing that puts the fear of God into everybody that sees him, that thing that he needs to breathe. Honestly, I can understand why you would want that as a Sith. As anybody else, or just anybody who is in their right freaking mind, you're freaking like, why would you actually want to be there? First of all, it's a lava planet. Second of all, bad memories, just saying. But, you know, then again, I do, like I said, I understand why he's doing it. It's just weird. By the way, Vader's fortress has some backstory in the comics. Vader had it designed exactly as it is, a giant tune fork design of sorts, as it aided him and his workings in Sith alchemy, where he attempted to pierce the veil of time between life and death, in the hopes to bring back his beloved Padme. Which he definitely does pierce the veil, with his soul leaving his body behind in the physical world and entering the spiritual realm. There, he sees into his own creation at the hands of Darth Sidious. He was implanted there within his mother's womb with the help of Sith alchemy. That's pretty cool, because that's something that was something in the expanded universe or Star Wars Legends, and they kind of brought it into the comics. But really, it was Darth Sidious's master, Darth Plagueis, which Darth Plagueis does get a mention in Revenge of the Sith, which you do hear the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise. You ever hear the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise, Anakin? Let me regale you in my fascinating fairy tales of grandeur. You know, he says it something along those lines. Anyways, Darth Plagueis and Darth Sidious in that novelization called Darth Plagueis we kind of like see that they end up together, I believe, they like created Anakin Skywalker by messing around with the Force. The Force reacted to their messing around and with the Force, and that reaction was Anakin. It just kind of created life, and that's why Anakin is as powerful as he is, and why he is known as like the Chosen One, why he's known as like the most powerful being in the Star Wars universe. He has like pure Force energy seething through his veins, and that's why like his midichlorian count, as Qui-Gon says in The Phantom Menace, is higher than that of Master Yoda's. And yeah, I know a lot of you don't like to hear about the midichlorian count, but it's part of canon, so you just gotta deal with it. Then Vader sees into his childhood and his entire life as Anakin Skywalker. Faced his demons, those he'd wronged, even freaking fights them, which is kind of cool. I mean, it's, you know, I mean, you're rooting for the bad guy in this instance, but, you know, he takes him on, and he kicks ass. And he eventually finds Padme. And he seemed to find the truth to why he could never have Padme back in his life ever again. And he saw into his future, what is on the horizon for him. Honestly, the comics are so interesting and so dope. Like, I could go over so much more cool stuff. I'll definitely have to go over them on the channel at some point. So Vader is sat upon his throne, and there he is having a holo call with Third Sister, where she's all, you know, like, I reassure you, Lord Vader, we will get Obi-Wan for what he did to the Inquisitor. which, you know, is so freaking sweet of her, since she's the one that impaled him with her own saber. And, you know, I was, like, quite upset about that whole thing, as you might have seen in the previous review. But I'm kind of coming to a realization that there might be something cooler that they're setting up that I didn't think about until recently. So I don't know. If it's done right, it's cool. If not, then they really fucked this character up like a lot. This actually could be kind of cool. So I've kind of come around on this after a week of marinating with all this. You know, after I've gotten all my little rage emotions out in the open, as you've seen from the last video. Probably could just go the Fennec Shand route, as I've said, and just mod his chest up, but that seems a bit repetitive, especially since they just kind of done that very recently. So I'm thinking that's not going to happen, actually. And I'm thinking the Grand Inquisitor is indeed dead, but it doesn't necessarily have to mean that he's not dead in the future in Star Wars Rebels. Let me explain. I think what might actually be going on here is that he is actually dead, but he will be revived through Sith alchemy by Darth Vader by the finale. At the latest, he will be revived at the finale. And perhaps this will be the first ever time that Vader does this to him. As those that are up to date with the Star Wars comics know, long after the death we see go down in Star Wars Rebels, the Grand Inquisitor is seen much later, coming face to face with Luke Skywalker. As the Grand Inquisitor reveals to Luke, Vader brought him back through Sith alchemy, only to watch over this certain temple. He could interact with the physical world, but only essentially as a ghost. And he can't go anywhere else outside this temple. He ends up referencing his last line in Star Wars Rebels, pertaining it to his fate, telling Luke there are far more things frightening than death. Possibly implying a life that never is allowed to end, to have peace. So I'm starting to wonder if the Grand Inquisitor is essentially a revived dead man walking in Star Wars Rebels, the whole entire time. If they're doing this to him in Kenobi to expand upon his character. That line and what it really means and seeing him differently moving forward, this actually has the potential to be kind of cool if done right. Hey, I don't know. I guess we'll see what's up as the show continues onward. Anyways, Vader tells Reva that the Inquisitor doesn't mean shit to him, okay? What matters is Kenobi. Find Kenobi. And then he ends up telling her that he's been watching her and that if she like wants this whole Inquisitor's spot, like in the Inquisitorius, then she needs to prove herself. Wink, wink. Fucking find Kenobi. I've got a Twitch problem. I really wish I had like a Twitch going right now, because that would be a perfect time to just plug that right now. By the way, you can find me on Twitch. I'm just kidding. I'm not on Twitch yet. So Vader essentially tells Reva, find Kenobi and I'll give you the Grand Inquisitor spot. Fail to do so and you'll never live long enough to regret it, which is a very Vader thing to say. Back on the freighter, Leia is asking Obi-Wan all sorts of different questions. She ends up asking him like about the Force and what it feels like, and you know, this is like a good teaching moment, you know, because she's eventually going to know what it feels like, or kind of probably does know what it feels like, but just kind of doesn't really realize it. But anyways, so he explains it to her, and I love the way he explains it to her. Like, he could have went all like complex about it. Like, he could have really dived into it and talked about the Force and how it works and all that stuff that we get like literally everywhere else whenever somebody asks about the Force. What he did is he saw a 10-year-old girl and she is asking a question about something so big and complex. And so he decides to, he's not like dumbing it down or anything, but what he is doing is he's bringing it on something that she can understand. And so he ends up explaining it as like, you ever been like afraid of the dark? And then you know how you feel safe whenever you turn on the light? The Force feels like that. And I really like the way that he explained that, and I really like the way he delivered it. Like, Ewan McGregor and this actress, I forget her name. It's like Vivian Blair. I think it's Vivian Blair. Yeah. I just looked it up. It's Vivian Lyra Blair. That's the actress's name. Vivian Lyra Blair. That's what she goes by. Because that's her freaking name. But the actress that plays little Leia, like she's freaking crazy. Like just her acting skills this early in life, like she's gonna be like a phenomenal actor, and like by the time she's already like killing it now. Like just imagine whenever she's like into her adulthood, like doing movies and shit. Like she's gonna like be one of those like actors that like has been known for generations. I don't know. Like I just like have a feeling about this actress, just like because I just haven't literally seen a kid actor act this freaking well. Like I can't compliment this enough until I see more child actors act as well as this child actor. I can't not compliment Vivian Lyra Blair. I can't not. So Vivian Lyra Blair, kudos, A+, gold star, demerit. The freighter ends up landing on a mining planet called Mapuzo, and Obi-Wan and Leia, they end up walking away and going off on their own. Obi-Wan, he's talking about how he's still suspicious about going to these coordinates that the fake Jedi gave to them, and that said that there's somebody there that is an ally and that can help them, get her back to Alderaan. And but he's still suspicious about it, and then Leia's like, well, why would he lie? And then just like that, Kenobi just snaps and says, no, people are good, Leia. Like the way that was portrayed by Ewan McGregor, I'm sorry to keep saying this over and over, but he is such a great actor. He's such a phenomenal actor. I can't get enough of him. Like, just like him looking out at this mining planet and seeing it's like all like freaking tore up and like lifeless, and he's talking about how it used to be full of life, so beautiful, filled with people, and then the Empire came. Like, just the way he delivered that and talked about it, it just reminded me of like watching the Clone Wars and seeing Obi-Wan go to all sorts of different like worlds, and because like this used to be his job, like going to these different worlds and seeing that like whenever they have like these big problems, like he would go to help them out, fix them, that type of thing. He's a Jedi Knight. He's here to help keep the peace and the justice and just help do good things. Like a good Jedi. State Farm is there. I don't know. Jedi Council is there. But yeah, no, it was honestly just like scene after scene. It's hitting me every single time with Ewan McGregor. It's crazy. Like he's so shattered, like seeing like this place like in such disarray, like Mapuzo, for example, like because of the Empire. Like he's only one man now. Like he doesn't have like a whole like Council of Jedi to help him out on like a mission to like maybe stop this evil Empire. He can't go face down the Empire with his laser sword. I mean, it'd be cool. He could try. Don't be like Luke and be a bitch about it.
I'm gonna walk out with a laser sword and face down the whole First Order?
X-Wing.
One X-Wing? Great. We're saved.
Incoming craft, identify yourself. Why did they stop?
Open the doors.
At least Kenobi faced Vader, okay? Luke, you freaking coward. Freaking astral projecting ass. The Last Jedi was so fucking dumb. I'm sorry. Side tangent. Anyways, moving on. And then, as they keep walking, Kenobi eventually just stops dead in his tracks as he sees his biggest enemy, his most fearsome foe, General Grievous!
General Kenobi.
Ben? Ben?
Stay close.
Wouldn't that be crazy? It's actually Anakin, or more precise, it's Vader before he's been all burnt up and suited up, and he's all he's hooded, like pretty much where you see him like whenever he's about to go attack the Jedi Temple. And this is the first instance we have seen of Hayden Christensen in live action without all the prosthetics and makeup and the suit and whatnot. So I was just like, it's Hayden Christensen! Frick yeah! After Kenobi's little like panic of seeing visions of Anakin there, we end up, they end up continuing onwards in their journey. And then we cut away to the Inquisitorius HQ, which is on this like water planet, or I believe it's like one of the moons of Mustafar. Like, Vader's on like a lava planet, and then the Inquisitors are on a water planet. And Vader, like, he could have like kept them like nearby, since they're like his underlings, like his direct underlings, but he's like, you gotta be at least a planet away, like a good planet away. That's close enough. So we see this Inquisitorius HQ, and it was one of the main like places you go to in like the ending of that Star Wars game that came out recently, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. And is where you get to like fight like the main boss there, like second sister, and you even see Vader in that game, and it was really cool. And it was even cooler to see it here in live action. We see the third sister arrive, and she ends up telling the fifth brother and fourth sister where she believes that Kenobi is hiding. That she tracked that freighter that left off and towards the mining systems, and it's gotta be one of those areas. And then the fifth brother is all like, we don't have to listen to you, okay? The Grand Inquisitor spot is mine, all right? I'm next in line. And, I mean, first of all, like, I was thinking about that, and I was like, are you? Like, your fifth brother, she's third sister. If anything, second sister would be next in line. And I don't think that Jedi Fallen... honestly, when is Jedi Fallen Order? I think it's later. I think it's after the events of this show. It could be before, or it could be during. Either way, if it's not second sister that's up, it is quite literally third sister that is next up in line. Like, so, back off, fifth brother. And then Reva, she's like, all right, you know what? Fuck this guy. I'm just going to tell him what's up. Look, I just got done chatting with Darth Vader, my boy, DV. Anyways, we got done with our little Skype sesh, and he basically said I'm running point on this mission. So you can go ahead and listen to me, or you can get the fuck out. Okay? Cool. And so fifth brother basically, like, he's like, you spoke to Vader yourself? Like, what? Like, you? Really? And then he just basically starts falling in line. Fourth sister immediately falls in line after hearing that, and then fifth brother, he's kind of more hesitant about it, but he's like, well, you know what? I will eventually get what I deserve, third sister, and so will you. And then she says, as he's leaving, I really do hope so. I really do. And it's weird the way she was pondering that. I almost feel like I feel like we're going to learn more about Reva, whether I'm right about that theory about her being one of the Jedi from the beginning of the Jedi Temple scene at the beginning of episode 1, or whether she is just something else in general. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I feel like we're going to end up going back over her scenes and something like that. Like, the way she delivered that line, it felt like there was meant to be more than one meaning. Like obviously she meant that she hopes that fifth brother, basically, and that she gets, Inquisitor spot. It kind of seems like that's what she was, implying. But it feels like there was something more there in the way that she said what she said. Go back and watch it. I think you'll see what I'm saying. As Kenobi and Leia end up continuing on their walk, they end up like going over like this rehearsed story of theirs about them being farmers and father and daughter and whatnot, in case like they have a run-in with anybody. They end up getting to the coordinates where they were said to meet at with this like ally of theirs, or like a special agent or some crap, and nobody's there. And so Obi-Wan's like, guess what, Leia, I freaking knew it, okay? I was right, you were wrong, get over it. Let's move on with this crap, all right? Let's move out. And then Leia's like, yeah, I don't really want to keep walking. Let's hitchhike. So she calls over like this guy that's driving by, like this like mole creature dude. His name's Freck, and he seems friendly enough. And she introduces them as Luma, introducing herself as Luma and Obi-Wan as Orson, and them being father and daughter, farmers from the planet Tull. And the story seems a little bit off to the mole dude, but he ends up buying it, I guess. And Leia sees that like Obi-Wan is like acting a little like awkward and shy and whatnot, and she kind of like nudges him and is like, "Aren't you gonna say hello, father?" And then he says, "Hello," and I'm just like, why didn't you just have him say hello there? Like, it's like it's been memed to death, and I'm not trying to like make memes like a part of like what you have to do or whatever, but it's just like it would have gotten a good laugh out of like a big majority of the audience, myself included. We would have just like squealed at the just him just saying hello there, like just ew, man. It's just been memed to death, and like just it was literally perfect. He said hello. You just need to add there. It could have been done. I think they thought about it probably. If they didn't, that's just sad. That's just, come on, man. It would have been perfect. Or maybe they thought about it and were like, nah, that's dumb. How about we don't do that? And maybe they were right for it. I don't know. That's the meme in me talking, probably.
Father, aren't you going to say hello?
Hello.
What did you say?
Hail here.
Stop, R2, we need to be going. Hello there.
Father, aren't you going to say hello?
Hello there. Now, that's better. Always on the move.
So they end up going with this Empire loyalist Freck, who ends up picking up some stormtroopers along the way, and they end up like asking the two of them like if they've seen anything about like a Jedi, if they've heard anything about a Jedi, if they've seen a Jedi, and they say, well, no, didn't know they were still around, that type of thing. And freaking Obi-Wan slips, and just he accidentally calls Leia by her name instead of going by the freaking code name that they came up with, Luma, like the undercover name for them. And so, like, in one of the stormtroopers, like, he latches onto that immediately because they're already suspicious of them, and says, he's in that stormtrooper's like, Leia, I thought her name was Luma. And but Obi-Wan saves it. He saves it pretty smoothly, I think. He's like, sorry, that was her mother's name. She's not with us anymore. It's been rough ever since she's been gone. And then he ends up like looking at Leia and says, every time I look at her, I see her mother's face. Can't help but get confused, you know, something like that. And Leia, she can tell that there's more than meets the eye with that sentence. The stormtroopers end up getting off, and then Leia asks Obi-Wan, did you know my mother? Did you know my father? Are you my father? And then Obi-Wan tells her, I wish I could say I was your father, but I'm not. And he kind of dodges it a little bit. I thought he was gonna talk about at least Padme, but he ends up kind of dodging it a little bit. He ends up talking about himself a little bit, which I liked. I liked that he actually opened up a little bit. He talked about himself and how he was taken away as like a child by the Jedi Order, you know, because that's how they work. Whenever you like they find out that a baby has Force abilities, the Jedi Council come in and they're like, hey, we're gonna go ahead and take that kid. Cool, bye. Yeah, so he like, and he says like he kind of remembers like flashes, like he remembers like his mother's shawl, his father's hands, and then he said he thinks he remembers a baby, and he says that he thinks he had a brother, and I was like, what? Obi-Wan has a brother? That's freaking dope. Now, more than likely, you know, they didn't take him because he wasn't Force sensitive, so he's just an average guy. But that's still kind of cool, like, to know that Obi-Wan has a brother out there. But it also could mean that he wasn't as strong in the Force as Obi-Wan was, and they just didn't really care to train that or, like, take that on. So technically, maybe his brother is out there with Force abilities. I think it would be really cool, like, maybe he somehow, like, I'm just saying, like, they could have really made this a series, and, like, part of, like, an arc could have been, like, him finding his long-lost brother at least, like, if not his parents, then his long-lost brother, and maybe he has Force powers, and maybe they go on adventures together. I'm just spitballing here, but, like, that's the kind of stuff I latch on to whenever, like, little sentences like that get put into scripts, and I would just run with it. And I think it'd be really cool. But of course, maybe it would be a little bit too convenient for, you know, him to find his brother, but you never know. Like, I mean, if he goes and like you really like focuses on the Force, and like, you know, the Force is really powerful and it connects all living things. It could obviously connect him to his brother if it wanted to, if he wanted it to. So I think technically they could get away with making that work in it is a convenient way, but it is also a way that isn't so super contrived. I don't know. Once again, I'm just kind of rambling here, but it's just, why isn't this a series? Oh, I'm just so upset. There's a lot that they could have done with this series. I'm getting too enraptured in this lore that I've created. I need to step away. Freck's truck ends up coming to a stop, to a Imperial checkpoint, really, at this like laser gate. The Freck guy, he ends up coming out and he tells one of the stormtroopers that he picked up a couple of strays and he thinks that they should probably have a look at them. So, you know, he kind of knew that they were out of the norm. The stormtroopers end up asking them some questions. They get a probe droid out there to identify them, and as the probe droid has their sights locked on Kenobi, it gets an identification of Obi-Wan Kenobi right as Obi-Wan draws his blaster and shoots it right down the freaking camera, and it, woo! And then he just starts blasting. he starts blasting all the stormtroopers, and one of them holds Leia at gunpoint at one point in the skirmish, and but like as he's setting it down, he just kind of like lets off a shot, and it takes down the freaking stormtrooper, and that was dope. And one of the more gruesome deaths of that whole like shootout there, Kenobi ends up like shooting one down and passing him around, and one less stormtrooper on the wall. which is kind of true because he ends up falling to his death. But he falls and like he goes right where the laser is, the laser gate, and it cuts him in two. And it's like, oh, it was so cool, but I was like, oh man, that's nuts. But I don't know, I thought that was dope. Anyways, they get past the laser gate, and then like another like platoon of stormtroopers show up, and honestly, Obi-Wan could have like easily had them before they even got out of their truck, but he ended up like not doing anything because plot. But luckily, because of plot, the Imperial officer lady there ends up just shooting all the stormtroopers because she is the contact that the fake Jedi hired or messaged or told about Leia and Obi-Wan coming. And then they all get into the transport truck that she has, and she takes them into town. We see that the Inquisitors know about Obi-Wan's exact precise location, and that Vader is informed through Fifth Brother, and you know he kind of flaunts that in front of Third Sister, who she's like, you know what, you have your moment, okay, Fifth Brother, but we both know who's gonna be sitting right next to Lord Vader when this is over, and that gets right under Fifth Brother's skin. I freaking love it. And then all the Inquisitors end up preparing themselves for Mapuzo. The contact ends up leading Leia and Obi-Wan into this building. And in the building, they see like this droid, and I guess his name is called Ned B or something like that. And I don't know. He opens the door for them. He can't talk or anything. He's just a droid, I guess. And he opens like a secret back way door in the building, and then they go in there, and they see like there's a bunch of like messages and stuff like from all sorts of people that have like been there, that have like helped transport people, left messages for loved ones that they hope like get saved. Rebellion type movement that's like moving people out. Like this lady, like this like fake Jedi's contact, which is her name is Tala, as she tells Obi-Wan. Like, you know, so like Tala is doing for Obi-Wan and Leia. And on the wall, Obi-Wan spots a message from an old friend and ally who was on the Jedi Council with him, Quinlan Vos. Quinlan, although making only a cameo appearance in The Phantom Menace and a limited amount of episodes in the Clone Wars show, he certainly has become a favorite of the fandom, and I'd say I'm one of them. He's a cool and somewhat more unorthodox Jedi at times, which I love that about Vos. There's a book out there called Dark Disciple, which follows Vos on a mission from the Jedi Council that's basically being kept under wraps because it's about him, you know, being told by the Jedi Council that essentially Count Dooku needs to be assassinated. In the book, he goes undercover as a bounty hunter where he meets an old disciple of Dooku's who recently readjusted her morals and split ways with Dooku. And she became a bounty hunter herself. Asajj Ventress. They work together to try and eliminate Dooku. Obviously, we know that doesn't go down. It's a decent book until like the ending. I just didn't like what they did with Ventress's character in that book, but like towards the ending, like what happened with her and all that. Unfortunately, it's canon. And anyways, I mean that book. I mean that like if you want to know a lot more and see a lot more to Quinlan Vos and like, like he goes like he kind of like reverts into the dark side in that book. Like it's kind of crazy what he goes through in that book. Honestly, like it's a good, decent book, but then it kind of ends and like the ending's like it was mediocre. I don't know. That's my opinion, but I digress. And then Obi-Wan read Quinlan Vos's message. Only when the eyes are closed can you truly see. And then Leia asks, see what? And then Obi-Wan responds, the way. Got chills whenever that happened, man. I loved it. Like, so good. I'm thinking that this will be like a message that Obi-Wan ends up like reflecting back on like at a later point that ends up like helping him like either get out of this funk, or it'll be something that helps him like save himself from something, help him like truly hone in on the Force. He'll like close his eyes and realize that he doesn't need them to see. He has the Force, and he kind of seems like a little, out of it, especially, since he hasn't been using the Force in like a decade. So, I mean, I get it, but I'm thinking that this is kind of going to be something to help him like get out of his funk. And also, I think, wouldn't it be cool if Quinlan Vos just like showed up and like kind of like brought him out of his funk and like just kind of like brought him back to the Obi-Wan Kenobi we knew? He'd be like, man, you really have really lost your touch there, Obi. He kind of like talked to him like that, I'm sure. I think it would be really cool to see Quinlan Vos. I know like a lot of people not in the know, but wouldn't probably think so, but like, you don't even know. Like, I mean, we have that character in here. I'm sure everybody will like love that guy instantly. And I'm not talking about like people that see him like fully converted to live action, but like new fans as well, like meeting him for the first time. I think a lot of people will latch on to Quinlan Vos, and then they'll want like a Quinlan Vos series. In fact, maybe this is all set up for like a little Quinlan Vos spin-off series. Who knows? That would be pretty freaking dope. But of course, this is all just speculation. Hearsay. I'm in a Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial case right now. There's these knocks at the front door, and then like this Ned B droid lets him in, and they're asking him all sorts of questions, but he's not answering, and so like they're getting a little hostile with him. And luckily they let that crap go, because they were like, he's just a loader droid, just let him go. Because this loader droid, like, he had a sledgehammer ready to go and go to town on these bucket heads. Like, he was gonna sledgehammer these guys' heads in. It's gonna be dope. Tala ends up opening yet another secret passageway that leads through this like secret corridor for Leia to go out through. But then all of a sudden, Obi-Wan senses something, and he feels very uneasy and uncomfortable, and like he goes out and he looks out the window and he sees the Inquisitors arriving. But that's not what made him feel like this. He sees Darth Vader. That's right. He looks out at him, he sees it, and then Vader keeps walking, and then Vader stops. Because Vader senses Obi-Wan. I don't know why Obi-Wan stayed around, but he did. And then as soon as Darth Vader sensed Obi-Wan, he's like, well, I gotta get him out in the open. What better way to do that with a Jedi?
The supply ship's here. Go on ahead.
Brother, what are we doing here? The Jedi won't be out this far in the galaxy.
In a galaxy at war, Savage, there's only one way to get the attention of the Jedi. Slaughter of the innocent, mercilessly and without compromise.
Obi-Wan tells Tala and Leia to go on without him, and so they do. Obi-Wan ends up like trying to lure like Vader away, because Vader literally, he just started like using the Force to grab people out from windows, and like he like Force choked them. He snapped one kid's neck. He dragged this one lady out across the way like as he walked, and like snapped her neck or choked her out or whatever he did. He killed her. And then he was about to go kill this like this other couple or whatever, but then he sensed Kenobi, and then he started going that way. And then like Kenobi like led Obi like and then like Kenobi led Vader out to like where the mining like part of the mining facility is at, I believe. And then that is where Vader and Kenobi finally face each other. Kenobi is walking, trying to get away, and that's whenever he sees him for the first time in like a long time. Like they lock eyes on each other, and Vader ignites his saber right there before him. And what does Kenobi do? He pulls out his saber, but he doesn't ignite it. He actually just hightails it. Like he gets the heck out of there. He's like, nope. Meanwhile, Leia ends up convincing Tala that Obi-Wan's gonna need her help. And so Tala and Leia split ways. Leia can make it on her own from there to go meet up with the pilot that'll take her to Alderaan. And Tala will go help Obi-Wan in his little fight with Darth Vader. Like, tell him what the fuck you gonna do? Like, if Obi-Wan can't do it, you can't do it. But, you know, I mean, kudos for you for trying, you know. You know, good on you for going to give it the old college try. Also, while this is happening, Ned B, like, wanders off from the building, and like, third sister goes and inspects that building, and then she finds, like, the secret rooms and starts looking through there. And so you can kind of see where this is gonna go, but we'll get there. Because what I want to discuss, obviously, is the Kenobi and Vader fight. As Kenobi is, like, off on his own, like, he's like, he got away from Vader. He can hear, like, Vader saying, "You can't escape me, Obi-Wan. You cannot run away. You know, you cannot escape me." You know, saying stuff like that. This leads Kenobi to ignite his saber, and it's very blinding. I honestly thought that, you know, it was so blinding that I honestly started to think of Quinlan Voss's, you know, line, thinking that he's gonna need to, like, think about, you know, closing his eyes and thinking more about, you know, using the Force and not his eyes, you know, but that didn't end up happening. But yeah, no, it was so blinding, his blue lightsaber. It was crazy. And he ended up seeing Vader right there before him, and Kenobi, he looks at Vader and he asks him, "What have you become?" And then Vader says, "I am what you made me." I was like, that's freaking, oh, I like that. Kenobi ends up deigniting his saber and running off again. But Vader ends up getting the upper hand on him here. See, he ends up, like, sneaking up on Kenobi, and the way he does this, he's only done this, like, one other time that I know of. He turned off his breathing. That's right, he turned off his freaking breathing. Now, in Rogue One, at the end, like the big slaughter of the rebels, to get the jump on them, he is in pitch dark. He's in pitch black darkness in that slaughter scene until you see the red saber turn on, and then you see his lights turn on his chest and whatnot, and that right there is for his breathing. So that means that he turns that off. That way you don't hear him breathing, because his iconic breathing will obviously set them off. And so he wanted to scare them, and he wanted to put the fear of God in them, and he wanted to get the jump on those rebels. And he did the same exact thing here with Kenobi, as he comes and he swings up on Kenobi, because Kenobi didn't hear Vader, like, breathing and coming up on him. And so he swings up on Kenobi. Then we start to hear the Vader iconic breathing coming back into it as he turns that back on so he can fight and, you know, breathe properly. It's just, like, it's really interesting the lengths that Vader will go to get the jump on somebody. But, you know, anyways, they fight, and honestly, I didn't like the way the fight looked. It looked very fan film-like. It really did. Like, the really big problem I have with the direction and cinematography so far is this fight. It didn't look like it goes at all with any other fight scene whatsoever with sabers being involved in the Star Wars universe, like, at all. It really did look like a fan film. Like, it didn't look right. It didn't look like it was shot properly. It didn't look like it was choreographed properly. And yes, I know that Kenobi is meant to be a sloppy fighter right now. He's not meant to be with it. I understand that. But it seemed really off to me, and I've watched this episode a few times now, and it still has not sat right with me yet. So I don't know if I'm the only one thinking this, but it's just, like, I mean, it was cool, obviously, that they, like, clash sabers and whatnot, but it looked very clunky to me. I don't know, that's just me. They end up, like, going over to this area where Darth Vader, like, uses the Force and knocks down this barrel of, like, these crystals, and then he lifts up Obi-Wan and he's choking him, and then Kenobi drops his saber, and then as he does that, Vader takes his saber and he lowers it and touches the crystals, and then flames go bursting. And then he tells him, "Now you will suffer as I have suffered." And then he uses the Force to throw Kenobi into the flames, and he starts burning, and he starts screaming, and he's in such pain, and it is hard to watch, I tell you. But it was, it's such a good scene. I will say that, like, whenever that started up again, I started to like it again. Like the little saber bit, I was just like, it was just off for me. But like that bit there, I was like, oh my god, this is so intense. And then like Tala shows up and she's like kind of watching it over. She had like, and then these other stormtroopers show up and are watching Vader like burn the crap out of Kenobi, and then I guess wants to continue this torture session. So he lowers the flames with the Force. Remember that. He lowers the flames with the Force. Okay? Okay. Then he asks for a stormtrooper to go get Kenobi for him. And then Tala kills that stormtrooper. They're all like, oh my god, what's going on? And then Tala starts shooting more of them. And then, Tala ends up shooting like this, like, I don't know what it is that she shot, but it ended up igniting the flames again and bursting them even further and even larger and bigger and brighter and hotter, and it separated Kenobi from Vader and the stormtroopers. And they shot at like Nedby, like the droid Nedby ends up walking in and like saving Kenobi and getting him out of there. And and so Kenobi gets away, like it's all good, it's all gravy, baby. But Vader, he just lets Kenobi go. He's not afraid of fire. Don't let that argument slide. He's not afraid of fire. He lives on a lava planet, for Christ's sake. He's not afraid of fire. And plus, Darth Sidious would not allow him to be afraid of fire. If he was afraid of such things, he would just fucking get rid of him, because that is like he would consider him like a weakling. He would not have that for his apprentice. So he was not afraid of the fire, despite what that, like, maybe watching the scene you might think that. He wasn't. And he could quite easily lower the flames, because remember what I said, he lowered the flames with the Force a moment ago. He could have just done it again, but he didn't, because plot. And I didn't like that. I really wish that there was more of like a reason to why he didn't go after Kenobi. Now, the best reason I can say is because he ends up like, because really he wants Kenobi's death to be long lasting. He doesn't want it to be like quick or anything. And so, like, I imagine he wants to know Kenobi's loved ones, who he loves and cares for, and then he wants to take that away, wants to take it away in front of him, and then he wants to torture him, and then he wants to kill Kenobi. I imagine that's what Vader wants. And so, he needs to learn more about his connections. So I think maybe that's kind of why he lets him go. Kind of. That's an excuse reasoning, the best one I have, because otherwise he totally could have just gotten Kenobi if he wanted, but he didn't. So they part ways, and that's pretty much the rest of the episode. Leia shows up to where the pilot's supposed to be and sees that he's dead on the floor. I guess for some reason, I don't know how Tala and Third Sister didn't run past each other. Unless they're secretly in on it with each other. Dun dun dun! No, that would be ridiculous. But Third Sister apparently is just waiting there for Leia, and she ends up just grabbing Leia, and like the episode just ends there. And so Leia's been kidnapped. That's the end of the episode. And yeah. Guess we'll have to see what happens. So the episode ends with kidnapped Leia and a burnt Obi-Wan. Looks like Obi-Wan's gonna need a nice little soak in the bacta tank. Am I right? Yeah. He's gonna need something. He's gonna need. Ooh, I bet you they open up the next episode with him in a bacta tank, and like he's getting healed up, and then like he gets like some sort of like connection in there, in that like meditation of sorts. With Qui-Gon or something. I don't know. Maybe not, but that's... I don't know. That just popped in my head. I don't know. Maybe not. Probably not. That's a thought, though. You know, I don't know how I feel about this one. I mean, we got Vader, which was awesome. And we got to see Obi-Wan and Vader come together, as sloppily written and clunky as it was. I mean, seriously, that could have been done a lot better. I mean, the flame bit was kind of cool, but like apart from the dumb reason for not pursuing Kenobi, I just whatever. I did enjoy the Leia and Obi-Wan undercover farmers bit, and like the little bit into Kenobi, like his history, and like that little bit that we got to see into his past, like, and like hearing about him having a brother. You know, that was kind of cool to get like a little bit of insight on him. As much as I feel Reva is a character they had plans for, and as much as I love this little Leia that they got here, I feel like I'm watching the Reva and Leia show. Like, am I alone in that? Like Kenobi is just like a side character in his own show. Like, I definitely think they intended to hardly have Kenobi in this show, as I mentioned in a previous review. And I could definitely tell that they wanted it to follow like another person in their search for Obi-Wan, and like, I mean, well, you kind of got that with Reva, didn't you? So, I don't know. I think I was going to give this an 8 at one point, just for like Vader and saber fighting's sake, but I know deep down it doesn't deserve that, probably. I feel like probably my ratings are generous enough as is at times. But either way, I think I'm going to go ahead and give episode 3 a 7 out of 10. That's right, another 7 out of 10. The show will be good, not great. It'll be good, decent enough, but not as great as it could have been, and that kind of saddens me, but oh well. So guys, have you seen the 3rd episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I want to know. Comment down below and let me know. And without further ado, fellow Zachalytes, if you could leave your boy Zach a like and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, as I would very much appreciate it. And, well, I've been Zach Attack. You've been you. Thanks for watching.
Master.
I'm gonna walk out with a laser sword and face down the whole First Order.